I saw a tweet from Johnny Venerable, who covers the Cardinals for PHNX and does a great job with the PHNX cards, content with him and Bo Brock. Maybe we'll get Johnny on the show so he and I can agree on this together, because he had a tweet that I quote tweeted and added my thoughts, because it's been stuff that I've been talking about here for a while. And I'm going to read you this tweet from Johnny, and then we'll get into why I'm annoyed again today at another outlet discussing the Cardinals being sellers. And by the way, the trade deadline is just a couple weeks away and stuff's already happening. DeAndre Hopkins gets traded to the Chiefs today. We've already had Devontae Adams and Amari Cooper get traded. There's Cooper Kupp might get traded for a second-round pick. There's just a lot going on in the NFL trade landscape, stuff that we're not used to seeing from this league on a regular basis. So it's a lot of fun. It's exciting. These types of rumors and news are just the NFL continuing to just monopolize all of our free time. So Johnny tweeted this morning. I was putting together the show and was already planning on discussing this ESPN story, but I saw Johnny's tweet and I'm going to use it to kind of segue into this story. But he said it would be a horrendous lapse in judgment by the Arizona Cardinals front office to not take advantage of the current injury circumstances to the Rams and the 49ers. Nothing is guaranteed in this league. Division titles should not be taken for granted with this franchise. And I thought it was a great point by Johnny. You can go in to the year with whatever plan you'd like. You can go in thinking you're going to be at whatever record you think you're going to be at a certain point. That's all well and good. But at some point, your record and the record of everybody else around you is reflective of where they are at as a team. And right now, the 3-4 Arizona Cardinals are one game out of first place, a division title, a home playoff game in the NFC West. And so I quote tweeted that. And I said, this is why all these stories that I see about the Cardinals being sellers just confuse me. You are 3-4, one game out of first place. You have to see this through. If things change between now and the deadline, okay. But this front office needs to either stand pat, which is less ideal, or add on a small scale. And so there was another story today on ESPN talking about plans for all 32 teams in the NFL at the trade deadline. And it talked about where they should be. Should they be sellers? Should they be buyers? If they are buyers, who should they target? If they are sellers, who is potentially on the move? And I'm going to read you what they said about the Cardinals. Again, easy story to read. They're the first team on the list. You don't have to scroll far. Now, their chance to make the playoffs, according to ESPN's internal analytics, are 29.6%. Here is what Jeremy Fowler said about adding, subtracting, or sitting it out. Quote, subtracting with the chance to sit it out. The Cardinals are trying to win in 2024 while planning for the future. That's a balance that breeds patience, which is why I expect GM Monty Ossenfort to hold on to his picks. Safety Budda Baker would elicit trade interest if Ossenfort wants to give the free agent to be a chance to earn a new contract elsewhere. So once again, we're just going to continue to talk about Budda Baker being the trade piece that the Cardinals have to offer. But we're also once again discussing the Cardinals being sellers. And it was subtracting up front with the chance to sit it out. What would be the series of outcomes that would lead us to say that the Cardinals should sit it out instead of subtracting in the minds of ESPN's Jeremy Fowler? Because if the Cardinals win on Sunday, if they beat the Miami Dolphins, they're 4-4. The Bills could very easily beat the Seahawks in Seattle, and the Arizona Cardinals would be tied for first place in the NFC West. Again, at some point, the way things currently stand need to be what guides this process. Now, that doesn't mean go crazy. That doesn't mean trade your first-round picks for the next 4 years to acquire a player or two players. You don't have to go all in and acquire free agents to be. You don't have to do that. You can be smart about it. You can cautiously add to this roster. There are probably adds on a small scale that won't cost a lot of draft capital, that could be players that help both the short and long-term health of this franchise. There are moves out there. There are moves happening all the time. Ernest Jones just got traded today. That deal, I think, is official. There's a lot of these deals that are just put out there into the Twitter sphere that I don't know if they're actually fully done yet. But no, the Seahawks traded Jerome Baker and a pick for Ernest Jones. There are moves out there to make your team better. There are avenues to explore to make your team better without mortgaging the future. And so for the default position to be for a team one game out of first place to sell at the deadline, to me, is foolish. The trade deadline is after, week 10? After week 9? It's a couple of weeks away. Let's see what the next 2 weeks look like for this team. If they win on Sunday, are we going to come in here on Monday and talk about, Cardinals should be sellers, 4-4, potentially a tie for first place with games in hand against the Seahawks, with wins already in the bank against the 49ers and the Rams? No, we would take that conversation completely off the table. And I understand a cautious approach. I understand not wanting to push all of the chips into the middle. But for the default position right now to be that this team should sell, you cannot send that message. Do you want to hear that an organization that is one game out of first place is selling at the trade deadline? Do you want to hear that this organization with a playoff berth at stake, a home playoff game potentially in the cards, is giving up that opportunity with all of those games still left on the calendar, with 2 games against the Seahawks? Again, it doesn't have to look pretty, but first place is 1 week away. There is an avenue where Monday we start the show discussing the first place Arizona Cardinals. Can we at least see that through? Can we at least get to Monday and see if this team is 4-4 or 3-5? Can we see if Monday was a mirage or the start of this team learning how to win? What is the rush? That is the problem that I have with all of these stories, is I don't think there is a rush.